San Juan Regional Medical Center is your community hospital, committed to making life better for the communities we are privileged to serve. In fact, better is our mission, improving lives through personalized health and care. What matters most to our patients matters most to us, offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services so you can get the quality care you need right here at home. San Juan Regional Medical Center, celebrating life better here since 1910. Thanks for tuning into KSJE today, 90.9 FM, over the air here in San Juan County, New Mexico. If you're up in Durango, Colorado, you can tune in once again to 103.3 FM. We're excited about that being back on the air. And if you're listening anywhere else on the planet, that probably means you've asked your smart speaker to tune in to KSJE, or you're listening off of our website at ksje.com. We also welcome our viewers who are joining us this morning. The video is streaming live today out to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So we're glad that you are with us this morning, everybody, because coming up, my conversation with Aztec Schools Superintendent Kevin Summers. We'll be getting an update on things that have been going on at Aztec Schools over the summer as they get ready for, of course, the new school year to begin. Gosh, just over a month away, I would say, and more coming up with my conversation with Kevin Summers in the next few moments here on KSJE. Later on this hour, we'll be checking in with Amber Francisco over at the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. She'll be telling us about some of the pets available for adoption this week, and that special adoption rate still going on through the end of the month. Maybe those two cats on the screen right there might fit into your home. Those are Saturn and Jupiter are the names of those cats that you see on the screen there, and they are available this week at the shelter. So join us for our conversation and see more pets available for adoption if you watch us online at 8:50 today on KSJE. A reminder that Midcast is on vacation, so next hour will be some different classical music with Peter Van de Graaff instead of Roving with the Arts this week. And don't forget, you can also subscribe to our Instagram channel. You can connect with us there, as well as Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And you can subscribe and download KSJE podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts. So check it out. Maybe find a show that you may have missed over the last few weeks or so. But wherever you listen to podcasts, you can check us out and subscribe to KSJE. Outside our studios here at San Juan College, let's take a look. It's a beautiful sunny morning here at the college. 74 degrees already with mostly sunny morning. We are expecting a very hot day once again today, a heat advisory in effect again for the hours of 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. The forecast calls for mostly sunny day today with a high of 100 degrees, 67 with partly cloudy skies tonight, hot again tomorrow, 100 again, 99 on Thursday, hot and 102 on Friday, and then again for the weekend. Chance of showers may be building and popping up in the afternoon, but still highs in the mid to upper 90s or even triple digits. So that is the forecast with overnight lows, as you can see, near 70 degrees. Well, let me introduce my guest who is here with us this morning. Welcoming back to KSJE, Kevin Summers is here, the Superintendent of Schools with the Aztec School District. Mr. Summers, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Looks like you're having a relaxing summer.
We are.
Good.
Very busy, but
okay.
It's nice to be able to decompress.
Haven't spent every week in the office, I hope.
That's exactly right.
Good for you.
Not every week.
That's good. But gosh, summer's going by. We were talking before we came on the air this morning just how quick it is passing by, and pretty soon you'll have the school year up and running again, right? Over a little over a month away or so.
Yeah, a little less than a month actually.
Okay.
So our secretaries are reporting tomorrow, and that'll be followed by our principals. And then first day for our staff, our returning staff and faculty will be August 9th. And then we'll have students in the building August 15th, I believe. So
very good.
It'll be a great time.
Okay, and that reminds me to talk about the calendar that you guys have been working on at Aztec Schools to kind of remind folks about what you've got planned for the school year, right?
Absolutely. So our calendar this school year is going to look very much like the calendar of past years. It's by law we have to have 180 days. Last year we actually had 190 days due to an initiative that the state had provided. But our community was very clear and said, this extra 10 days not really for us. We live in a gorgeous part of the country, a gorgeous part of our state, and I think people really want to take advantage of that time as a family with their summers. And so we listened and said, great, perfect. We will go back to 180 days. So we'll have the first day for our transition classes on August 15th. And so a transition class are kind of the students who are starting new at a new campus. So our kindergartners, our fourth graders, our sixth graders, our ninth graders. So they'll start on August 15th, and then everyone else will come the next day on August 16th. And we still do have our early release. Last year, we actually made a shift from Mondays to Fridays. Again, it was very overwhelmingly clear that our community preferred those Friday early releases, so we've kept that. But other than that, it's a pretty traditional calendar. The one exception to that is Vista Nueva High School. Being an alternative high school, we want it to be alternative. And so they're actually going to be running a trimester calendar, which fits into our calendar fine. But their reporting dates are going to be a little bit different. So instead of a 9-week quarter, they'll have a little bit different schedule there, but also denoted on our calendar on our website.
Okay, there you go. So you can see it on the screen right now, but if it's a little hard to see, you can go to the Aztec Schools website and see a more clearer version there, and start adding things to your calendar to keep everybody on the same page, I suppose, right?
Absolutely.
But you've got the days off and the breaks and all the other things from now till May.
Yes, sir.
All set up.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully be done with classes before Memorial Day, which is a nice change from this last year.
Right. And that was probably a message you heard from parents as well.
100%. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So there it is, in print.
In print.
But still subject to change in
Still
case anything does happen. Because as we've learned anything in the last couple of years, everything is subject to change.
You're exactly right. Between the public education department, between the pandemic, between the legislature, all things are off sometimes. So we're going to try to stick to that calendar as much as possible, but it is subject to change.
Right, understood. Another thing you've been doing, maybe not you personally with a paintbrush, I don't know, but your crews have been doing is some refresh over at Aztec High School. It looks pretty, looks very good, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah, we put a little bit of color into it. It kind of looked a little bit like an institution, to be fair, right? It looked a little bit like an institution to us, and we thought, how do we make this more welcoming? How do we make this more of a campus that people want to hang out at? And so one of the very simple things to do is pick up that paintbrush, right? And so we've been doing some Fast and Furious painting at Aztec High School. We've been doing that, of course, across the district, but Aztec High School, I think, has the most notable difference. So everything you see in this picture that is orange previously wasn't orange, with the exception of those security doors.
Right.
Those were already orange. But I think it ties everything in very well. It makes it known that we're Tigers.
Yeah.
But
right.
also it's very welcoming. It looks nice. We call it Googleizing. It feels like a Google campus, you just kind of want to hang out and see what's around the next corner. Where's the next piece of orange paint? So I think it's been great. That's phase 1. Phase 2 will actually start next week. We have some kind of touch-up painting that we have to do with Aztec High School, but with all of our campuses, we've been doing painting and some security projects, and I think that that's important to be transparent about and let our community know that we're investing in our campuses. We're putting our dollars to good use. We want a nice facility for our students, and we want materials for our students as well. So safety, of course, is the greatest concern in our community, but every community around the country, especially in the wake of the unfortunate Uvalde incident recently. So we've been doing some security upgrades, some fencing projects at some of the other campuses, and we're just really excited to get kids back in the building.
Right. Yeah. Very nice. Well, and again, I think, a coat of paint is kind of budget friendly.
Very much so.
Of all the things that you could do or want to do perhaps, but maybe the budget doesn't always support some of those other ideas, in addition to, as you mentioned, some of the other security improvements and things that maybe aren't so obvious from the outside, which is probably by design as well, but that you were spending some resources there. And so I think it's a nice look for Aztec High School and the other schools, as you mentioned, that maybe we'll be getting touched by some of these plans in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got some plans of grandeur. Some of them we know will come to fruition. Some of them we know are probably a little bit out of our fiscal reach. But again, ultimately, what we want is we want a place where kids want to be.
Right.
And we know that we have to invest money in that infrastructure in order to make that a possibility. And plus, it's great for the adults, right? It's great as a teacher or as an administrator saying, "Oh, I love coming to work because it's a comfortable environment." And so, yeah, it's something that we're going to invest not only our recurring dollars in, but it's something that we're investing our non-recurring dollars in. Some of those ESSER funds that we were given from the federal government as a result of the pandemic, we're making sure that we invest those wisely as well, and making sure that kids have the absolute best facilities that we can possibly provide for them.
Right. And a lot of folks will say that many times the schools are a reflection on a community. If the schools are in disrepair, that maybe reflects badly on a community. Maybe it seems like they don't support the schools or what have you. When schools are fresh and in good repair, that means that the community does care about their schools. And I think from an economic development standpoint, the schools can maybe help drive some of those messages as well. And I know Aztec is working really hard on economic development and attracting new businesses to its community. And I think the schools are a good partner with that. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree with that. And I would also say it's a fine line. It's a delicate balance, because you've got this amazing history that you want to preserve in Aztec. We've got some buildings from 1902, 1908, and they're just a block away from the campus. So you want to preserve that history, but you also want the new and fresh. You also want to attract those new businesses. And you're right, from an economic development standpoint, we do want to attract some new industry into our area. And the first way to do that is to provide a nice school environment, right? As companies are relocating to the area, they want to make sure, is there a place for my family? Is there a place for my child? And so we have to keep that on the forefront of our thinking at all times.
Right. Well, and schools are public buildings, right?
Absolutely.
Even if a community member doesn't have a student at Aztec schools, they may still come to a baseball game or a football game or a concert or a play, and so they're utilizing those facilities like everybody else.
You're right, and that's actually one of the commitments that we have. Last time I was here, we talked about the 8 commitments, which we've started to figure out. This is really kind of the profile of a human being, right? This is what we want from every human being. So we're calling it the profile of the educator, but really it might be the profile of Aztec,
right?
The greater Aztec community. And one of those commitments is we are community, and so we want to be very intentional with how we interact with the community, whether whether they have a student in our system or not. And so we've talked about this idea of how do we have concert series at our facilities that are beautiful, and largely underutilized during the summer. That middle picture that we were looking at earlier, you can see the grass is gorgeous.
Right.
We really have these beautiful facilities, and they're underutilized. So we're trying to figure out, how can we partner with the city? How can we partner with other organizations around the city and county to create a functional space that everybody can use, whether it's a pickleball tournament or a outdoor concert.
Sure,
Yeah.
Sure, makes sense. And you've got the facilities as you've mentioned, and so it looks work well done. And again, there's more to come. You said
more to come, and
okay.
Thank you again. You're right. I did not pick up a paintbrush for that.
Well, all right. I bet you would have if asked.
If asked, I would have. I would have
Right.
done it actually if they wouldn't have asked me.
Okay.
But they probably would have asked me to stop. So.
That might be. Who knows? My guest this morning, Aztec School Superintendent Kevin Summers, is here. He is speaking with me about some of the plans and projects that have been going on over at Aztec Schools this summer as they get ready for the school year to start up again. Less than a month away, and I can't believe that's happening, but it's almost coming back. So it makes sense that it's all coming together this time of year. So
that's right, culminating.
That's just how it works. That's right. So other things that are going on, you have a new initiative, I think, that's starting up,
It's
right?
a new initiative. It's so we had spoken earlier about we're going to be one of, if not the only high school in the state that has 11 career and technical education pathways. And so you can think of those as meta majors here at the college, right? So when we talk about health sciences could be anything from dental hygienist to phlebotomist to doctor. It's a wide umbrella, right? So we've got 11 of those meta majors, so to speak, or pathways. And this is one of those pathways that is not really a pathway. It's something that we see a lot of merit in. We think it's very cool. We think kids will be very interested in it, but it's not necessarily approved by the public education department. But essentially what happened is our director of career and technical education, Milo McMinn, he developed some relationships with an organization called Project Bike Tech. And so we were able to become the recipient of a $60,000 grant that will teach kids essentially the basics of bike technician. We know the area we live in is ripe for outdoor biking and cycling. We see them all the time, whether it's in the hills or on the streets, And so we want to be able to teach kids a little bit of a craft while they're going through school. And while doing that, teaching them about engineering principles and mathematics principles and science principles. So it's really a hands-on STEM course that focuses on maintaining bicycles. And if some of our other grants come to fruition, then I think what you'll see is a really holistic approach to outdoor education in Aztec. But this also goes hand in hand with a bicycle manufacturing course that we're starting next year. So, hopefully by the time May rolls around, you'll see some bright orange bicycle frames that were manufactured by Aztec High School students, and then they're being maintained by Aztec High School students with the idea that eventually we can donate those to the community and people can use them as they see fit. We talk about San Diego all the time. San Diego has bike rentals and scooter rentals anywhere in the city. How cool would it be for us to have that for Aztec? But they're not rentals; they're free.
Right.
It's like a library.
Right.
And so I think that we have a really neat opportunity to begin that process.
Very cool. We were just talking about maybe thinking how the school district can work more with the community, with your grounds and everything else, but this is another example maybe of that as well.
Absolutely. And I think it can only transition into even cooler things, right? Like a cycling team, a traveling repair team, a traveling bike technician team. And then obviously, of course, this translates directly into employable job skills.
Right.
We've got bike shops around the county that are always looking for technicians. And if we can certify students in high school and get them some credits while they're doing it, then that's a win-win for everyone.
Right. Now, you said that the public education department did not maybe recognize this as a full degree program,
Correct.
but they certainly recognize the credits that could be offered through it, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's fully creditable. We have all of the licensure to do it. When I said that the PED doesn't recognize it as a career and technical education pathway, it's because those pathways are very specific.
Sure.
While they're broad, they're still very specific to high wage, high growth occupations. Bike techs aren't necessarily high growth occupations. We don't see bike techs needed across the country in massive droves, but we do see them here locally. And so that's why the PED doesn't recognize it as its own pathway, but we see it as a pathway.
Right.
Because of the local need.
Sure.
And the local economy, right? So,
but a student can still take it and get credit towards their
100%.
ultimate degree by taking this class.
Absolutely.
And graduate and do all the things that they're planning to do, and maybe come on to San Juan College or just go out and find a job after high school, perhaps.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So this isn't a frivolous class. It's not, kids aren't just going to waste a semester in this class. They will get credit for it. It will be an elective credit. And again, it's teaching them some science, mathematics, engineering, and technology principles. And so I think that even though this is an elective course, it's an elective course that actually translates very well into applied mathematics, applied physics, for instance.
Right.
And so it's going to help garner some of those skills as students take this course, and they get to work with their hands, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And again, had it not been for this grant, I'm imagining that maybe you wouldn't be as far along as you are because of the grant.
Absolutely, yeah.
It made it possible.
So we're very grateful to the Project Bike Tech organization. They have a relationship with Giant Bicycles, so we're going to end up with some amazing Giant bicycles there at Aztec High School that, again, kids not only are working on, but hopefully they're going to learn how to ride. And so we talk about this idea of equity, and there the haves and the have-nots when it comes to our society. And so how many of our students don't know how to ride a bicycle? Well, now we've got bicycles, and we could teach them how to ride a bicycle. So that can be part of our PE curriculum as well. So we're just really excited about all the different possibilities here.
Sure.
With this new partnership.
Right, very good. Well, and I'm excited about the idea that maybe I could go find a bike and borrow a bike, not maybe rent it, but borrow a bike and go from downtown Aztec over to Aztec Ruins, for example, on the trail system that now links the two together, right?
Exactly.
If I maybe don't want to walk, I can maybe ride a bike.
You're exactly right. And in fact, we've got a couple ideas of how do you foster that, right? Because I could ride a bike downtown, and that's great. But from downtown to Aztec Ruins is a really hop and a skip. It doesn't take a whole lot. It
isn't that far, but for me, it seems really far because you have to cross a river. But yes,
sure. Yeah. But there's a bridge and everything.
People walk it all the time. Yes, sir.
And so we've got a couple different ideas of how do we spark that interest. And so those are some conversations we're having with the city and the county, and seeing what can we do to spark that interest. And maybe kind of an unintended consequence is maybe we promote tourism. And that's not what we were going for, but it's what happens. And
right.
That obviously stimulates the economy as well.
But you have another great organization, Aztec Trails and Open Space, that could certainly partner, I'm sure, have some other ideas. Yeah. If the hardware were to be provided or what have you. So anyway, lots of things. I can see the wheels turning in your head as we speak, Mr. Summers. So I get where you're going.
We're excited.
It is very exciting. And again, the beneficiaries are the community and your students.
Exactly.
Who are learning these skills.
So we have kind of this unofficial motto of, it's called DCS. It's this acronym. We're acronym heavy in education, as you know, but DCS is doing cool stuff for kids. And so that's what we want to do. We want to do cool stuff for kids. We want to provide kids an experience, an educational experience that they can't get anywhere else. But more importantly, we want to create an experience locally for our community. Because we are the bedrock of the community, and we know that. We recognize that. If our schools were to go bankrupt, then what does that do for the community? There's 450 jobs lost. As jobs are lost, what do? People relocate. And so we need to be great stewards of our community and not just participants in our community.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about. As the refresh and as the schools go, so does the community go, and I think this kind of talks about that as well.
100%.
Other opportunities, I guess, are also available for other businesses. Sure. You mentioned Mr. Michlin and the work that he is doing to create these partnerships, and so that is, I guess, ongoing and expanding a little bit too, right?
Ongoing and expanding. In fact, last month we had our first industry convening. We'd never really done one. We didn't know what it would look like. We weren't quite sure who would show up, but we had an industry convening. We invited businesses and organizations all across the county saying, come talk with us, come dream with us. Let us rethink about what education means. Let us rethink about how private organizations and public institutions like us partner. And we had some amazing turnout. We had representatives from San Juan College. Dr. Johnson was there, and a few of his team members. The Janes Corporation, Care Drug, Intech, Nappy, the Vanilla Moose, Aztec Family Dental. We had so many people show up wanting to really kind of reimagine what education in Aztec looks like. And so ultimately what we did is we created a de facto profile of an Aztec graduate. So we know what law is with regard to what are the requirements that students have to have in order to be considered a high school graduate. But what we never really kind of get around to talking about as a community or as a county is, but what are those skills that you need? So when a student walks across our stage in May and they get that diploma, what are the skills they need to be employable? What are the skills they need to go seek a certification or a credential? What are the skills they need to be able to go into a 2-year or 4-year institution? And so having those conversations with these industry partners was affirming for us, because we had the belief that it's not hard skills that students need. It's those soft skills. And I would actually propose there's nothing soft about being able to communicate effectively. There's nothing soft about being able to work effectively on a team. There's nothing soft about being a servant of the community, a servant of your family, a servant of yourself. And so having those conversations with those partners was very affirming for us, but perhaps more beneficial for students is a lot of these partners said, we want to help. We want to donate time. We want to donate kind of in-kind gifts to be able to come in here and teach kids and interact with kids. Because at the end of the day, if we're trying to prepare kids for career, whether it's career immediately following graduation or career after some sort of credentialing or higher education, then we need to talk to those experts. We need those experts to come into our classroom and say, this is actually what we need. So it was an amazing experience. It lasted about 3 hours, and we're going to do more of these. And so any business or organization that's interested in kind of partnering with us and determining what is the profile of a graduate, what are those soft skills that you are needing within the confines of your business or organization, I would ask you to reach out to us. You can contact us directly through our website, or you can contact our Director of Career and Technical Education, Mr. McMinn, and I have his email address here on the screen. But for those who aren't necessarily seeing the visual program, they can go to our website, and we have a Career and Technical Education page, and all of his contact information is there.
There you go, and you can reach out that way. But
Absolutely.
That's the best way. And again, it seems like this is another opportunity for maybe sparking a conversation about apprenticeships or internships with maybe
Correct.
some of these businesses for your students and things along that line to really give them more hands-on experience beyond the classroom?
That's exactly it. So we have this dream. Well, first, I guess I should say that's the whole onus behind our 11 pathways.
Right.
Is that
Sure.
students are going to take very specific coursework for the first 3 years of their high school experience, and then that fourth year can be reserved for internships, apprenticeships, capstone courses where industry comes in and teaches our students specific skills. But we have this larger dream, and the larger dream is that by the time a student graduates from Aztec High School, every single student has the opportunity to either go directly into the workforce because they've done an apprenticeship or an internship, and they maybe have received a job offer before they even graduated, or every single student has some sort of a credential or certification, or every single student has up to an associate's degree. You know, last year we actually had 3 of our students graduate from Aztec High School with associate's degrees from San Juan College, and how amazing would that be if all of our students had that opportunity? So that's kind of our larger arching dream. Of course, there's a lot of legislative priorities that we have to hopefully influence and shape, and I think we have some great partners, and like Representative Lane, always interested in what our thoughts are with regard to graduation requirements and what's good for students. But ultimately, I think we need to have this conversation as a state about graduation requirements. We're one of the most rigorous states with regard to the graduation requirements. We require 24 credits to graduate. And when we talk about mathematics, I'll bring up the Algebra 2 requirement. Again, Algebra 2 is a requirement for graduation. And I'm not knocking Algebra 2. I think Algebra 2 is a great skill and arguably a pathway to calculus. But I just don't think everybody needs Algebra 2. And so when we look at other states, we see states like California that only require 13 credits to graduate. And of those 13 credits, only Algebra 1 is necessary. We look at some of the highest performing states like Massachusetts, who actually have 0 requirements for graduation. They're local decisions.
Really?
Which is really interesting. And there's, again, the highest performers academically in the country. And so I believe, I don't necessarily have the data that supports it at this point, but I believe that there's a direct correlation between graduation requirements and academic performance. And having these conversations locally, I think, first stimulates the economy, right? It stimulates partnerships within the local region, but I think it also starts to build momentum. And so we can move to Santa Fe and we can start having those conversations in the Roundhouse and really hopefully do some cool stuff for kids.
Right. Very interesting. And I guess, many times we hear they talk about education across the country, and New Mexico is compared to other states and they're ranked, and we sometimes aren't as high on the ranking that where we would like to be.
Right.
And I always wonder, are we comparing apples to apples, or are we looking at different things from different states that have different requirements, and how does that impact these rankings? And so it's really, I guess, as good as the data is, supposedly, right?
Agreed. And so I would actually submit that we're not comparing apples to apples. And I would also say that while New Mexico routinely comes at the bottom of that list, it's not because our students are at the bottom. I think we have just as smart and just as capable and just as ambitious students as any other state in this country and any other country in the globe. What I think may be flawed is our system. And so again, I kind of feel like I'm kicking a dead horse here because it's something you and I have talked about ad nauseum, but essentially for 125 years, we haven't changed our system. We haven't even been a state for 125 years, but
Right.
our system has not changed in that time. We've tried to fix the system, but we really haven't started from scratch. And I don't know that we have to start from scratch. I think we just need to kind of get back to the basics and say, what is it that kids need? And so that's why the work with our industry partners, I think, is so important and so valuable, because they're telling us what they need to have employable, successful human beings.
Right. And that's really important, again, for the success of your students, or every student, again.
student, yeah.
And that's the other thing, is that you are teaching every student that walks through your doors. You have an obligation to teach each one of those kids.
100%. We know that some of our students aren't college bound, and that's fine. So how do we set them up to be successful when they leave our institution? We know that some of our students are college bound. Great. How do we set them up to be successful at that next institution? So we've got this gamut that we want to service everybody. It's all about equity for us.
Right. And some of your students, I know, are probably just struggling to stick with it and get that diploma and walk across that stage after 13 years from kindergarten through 12th grade, and then get out there and they just want to get to work.
Absolutely. And so the question becomes, how do you keep somebody interested when they've got to do all these requirements that they're not interested in?
Algebra 2, we're talking to you.
But how do you keep them interested? And the answer, I think, at least we believe, is stuff that's engaging. Bicycle tech. We have a drone program at Vista Nueva High School where kids fly drones, and they learn all the science behind it, but they get to fly drones. How cool is that?
Very cool. But that's also an industry, and a growing industry. I don't want people to think that that's just, a class of fun. It probably is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, but
there's also some really teachable skills there, and it's a growing market, I think, for career-wise, that folks who have those skills can probably do a lot of things with them, and we're seeing that more and more each day.
There's FFA credentialing,
right?
FAA, excuse me, not FFA. FAA credentialing.
I bet you have an FFA club,
we do
as well. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, we do. Career Technical Student Organization, FFA.
There you go.
But yeah, there's, real estate alone, the applications of drone are amazing. But also when you get into the military sciences, a lot of our military are using drones to fight wars hundreds of thousands of miles away from a control room here in the United States. So I think there's great segues into multitude of careers, but drones themselves are fun, right?
Yeah.
And so our kids are interested in it, and then we expose them to the drones, and then we get to expose them to, but here's all the possibilities that you can have with that. And again, it's something that we've said before. We truly believe that kids cannot be what they cannot see. So we want to expose them to as much as we can.
Right. And these drone careers weren't even thought of a decade ago.
Absolutely.
And so they're so new. And
100%.
and that field is so new, and growth. Very good. Mr. Summers, always a fascinating conversation with you. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
To talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me kind of espouse my beliefs and my passion.
Of course.
I think ultimately we're going to do cool stuff for kids, and I appreciate you being a partner in that.
Well, thanks for sharing the stories with us as well here on the program. Appreciate it. And we'll see you in about a month.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll see you in August.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
That is Kevin Summers. He's the superintendent of schools with the Aztec School District. My guest this morning here on KSJE. KSJE is supported by Music in the Mountains, a world-class classical music festival based in Durango, Colorado, offering orchestra, chamber, and world music concerts July 7th through July 31st. This year, the concerts come to you with free mobile stage performances in the region, plus other unique venues throughout the area. Find out more at musicinthemountains.com. KSJE and San Juan College present the Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week.
Hello again, this is Emin Chi from the Student Achievement Center bringing you coaching tips over the radio for week 7. This is all about study. Knowing how to read a textbook, taking notes in class, and using the library are all areas that will help you be more successful in the classroom. Setting up specific times in a day or during the week to study primes your brain by creating a routine, and over time, studying actually becomes easier as your brain is trained to learn in those moments. Research shows that having a designated spot for study that is well equipped with every tool you might need is best, as this too primes your brain for studying. Encouraging friends to study with you can make everything more fun and productive. Studying together in person can help you hold each other accountable too. Teaching a friend, family member, or even your pet the material is a great way to see how well you know it. When you explain it to someone else, you'll have a better grasp of which information you already have mastered and which information you will need to study.
The Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week, presented by KSJE and the Student Achievement Center at San Juan College.
I'm John Lienhard with The Engines of Our Ingenuity.